Bienvenidos en el día de GS1 Eslovenia. Por fin estamos juntos. Hoy es 18 de diciembre del curioso año...
Kaj
Prosim.
pa počneš?
Ja, napovedujem današnji dogodek, dan GS1 Slovenija.
Ampak dogodek bo potekal v slovenskem in angleškem jeziku.
Kako? Meni tukaj piše v španščini.
No, pa smo tam. To se zgodi, ko so na delu netočni podatki. Seveda, velikokrat imamo opravka z napačnimi, pomanjkljivimi, neposodobljenimi podatki. In prav o tem bo danes tekla beseda. Kako pomembni so kakovostni podatki, kaj so kakovostni podatki in kako jih izluščiti iz množice vseh podatkov. Ana, lahko začneva še enkrat po zadnji posodobljeni verziji, tokrat v slovenščini?
Pa dajva. Drage udeleženke, cenjeni udeleženci iz Slovenije in tujine, dober dan in dobrodošli na 11. dnevu GS1 Slovenija. Novo dekado bomo odprli malo drugače kot vsa prejšnja leta. Tokrat se bomo družili preko zaslonov. Mi bomo poskrbeli, da bodo v ospredju kakovostni podatki, tisti, ki so osnova za tehnološki in družbeni napredek, vi pa lahko desno od našega videa v sporočilnem okencu, kamor se vpišete kot gost s svojim imenom, kadarkoli pustite svojo sled. Pa naj bo s pozdravom, vprašanjem, komentarjem ali le dregljajem. Veseli bomo vsakega vašega odziva.
In se bomo nanj tudi z veseljem odzvali. Naslednje 3 ure bova z vami moderatorki Ana Strnad-Hočevar in Ira Osojnik ob polni pomoči ekipe GS1 Slovenija, s katero se boste več pogovarjali v popoldanskem delu med vrsticami. V dopoldanskem delu pa bodo z 2 gostjama in 4 gosti iz Slovenije, Češke, Švice, Avstrije in Srbije ugotavljali, kako iz množice podatkov uspešno izluščiti potrebne, ažurne in smiselne podatke, s katerimi bomo učinkoviteje upravljali preskrbovalne verige in so nujen pogoj za različne analize in raziskave.
Da pa bomo dogodek vsaj v nečem približali vsem prejšnjim, ga bo tudi tokrat otvorila direktorica in gonilna sila GS1 Slovenija, gospa Zdenka Konda. Zdenka, pozdravljena. Tokrat je res da malo drugače, ampak dejstvo, da je dan GS1 Slovenija srce našega leta, ostaja, kaj ne?
Res je, Ana. To je že 11. leto zapored naš osrednji dogodek. Leto sicer na malo drugačen način, pa vendarle. Čeprav so dogodki organizirani na način, kot je ta danes, čisto zanimivi pravzaprav, pa vseeno srčno upam, da se že prihodnje leto spet srečamo na naš način, na naš tradicionalni način, kot smo ga bili vajeni vsa ta leta doslej. Seveda klepet in izmenjava mnenj ob kavici pa vseeno nekaj šteje, kaj ne? Torej, za vas, naše člane in druge udeležence današnjega dogodka smo letos izbrali podatke. Za podatke vemo, da močno vplivajo na odločanje ljudi, tako v poslovnem, kakor v zasebnem življenju. S pravimi podatki, kot mnogokrat radi rečemo, lahko vplivamo na učinkovitejše delovanje tako preskrbovalnih verig, zdravstvenih verig, so osnova takih in drugačnih analiz, z njimi lahko praktično spreminjamo vse, od družbenih odnosov, političnih sistemov do gospodarskih praks. Torej, če poenostavim, so podatki v tej digitalni dobi postali osnovna surovina, tako kot je bil premog v prvi industrijski revoluciji. Zato so podatki še posebej kakovostni, tisti temelj, brez katerih tehnološki podvojki, robotika, umetna inteligenca, pametne tovarne in še kaj ne bi bile mogoče. Vendar, kot pravi direktor in doktor Andrew McAfee, eminentni soustanovitelj na MIT iniciative za digitalno ekonomijo, je današnji svet en sam velik problem podatkov. In verjetno se lahko z njim tudi strinjamo. Živimo namreč v svetu, kjer je postala industrija s podatki ena najmočnejših in najvplivnejših. Orodja za njihovo obdelavo pa vpliv te industrije še povečujejo. Hkrati pa se ob tem soočamo s problemom ne samo številčnosti podatkov, ki iz dneva v dan raste, ampak pogoste neurejenosti, nepopolnosti, nestrukturiranosti, nekoexistentnosti, pa tudi neverodostojnosti, a hkrati nujnosti, odvisnosti in nepogrešljivosti tako v družbi nasplošno kot še posebej v gospodarstvu. Tako, danes se bomo posvetili torej podatkom in tudi vprašanju, kakšna je pri tem vloga standardov GS1. Vse udeležence dogodka vabim, da s svojimi vprašanji popestrite to, mislim, da zelo zanimivo temo. Še preden pa zaključim in vam zaželim prijeten dan v naši družbi, se želim zahvaliti tudi v svojem imenu vsem sponzorjem dogodka in seveda ekipi, ki je pripravljala današnji dogodek. Ana, beseda je tvoja.
Hvala, Zdenka. Se veselimo in komaj čakamo, da čisto zares začnemo. Naj pred prvim gostom še enkrat poudarim, da bomo veseli vaših odzivov, tudi vprašanj in odgovorov na anketno vprašanje v sporočilnem okencu, ki ga najdete desno od našega videa. Imeli bomo 2 krajša odmora, po našem druženju in vseh predstavitvah naših gostov pa bodo v popoldanskem času z vami, med vrsticami tudi naši strokovnjaki GS1 Slovenija na tehničnem področju. Z njimi boste lahko tudi poklepetali in jih vprašali vse, kar vas je kdaj zanimalo o globalnih standardih GS1.
Povezavo na posamezne pogovore med vrsticami z našimi strokovnjaki najdete pod videom. Tako, najnujnejše smo povedali, sedaj pa se udobno namestite, nastopil je čas za našega prvega gosta.
Z nami bo gospod Tomaž Tulčhorš, direktor upravljanja podatkov GS1 Češka. Povedal nam bo, kakšne podatke poznamo, kako se ti med seboj razlikujejo in zakaj so kakovostni podatki pomembni. Spoznali bomo tudi globalni podatkovni model GDM, ki ga Tomaž pripravlja v delovni skupini matične organizacije GS1 Global Office. Izvedeli bomo, kakšna bo vrednost globalnega podatkovnega modela v poslovnem svetu. Ker bo njegova predstavitev izrazito interaktivne narave, vas lahko prsti brez skrbi zasrbijo in se sprehodijo po tipkovnici tudi, ko vam bo ponudil anketno vprašanje. Če nas gledate s polnim zaslonom, ga lahko zmanjšate. S tem se vam odpre sporočilno okno na desni strani, kjer bodo na voljo anketna vprašanja.
Hello, Tomaž. It's nice to see you again. We are glad that you're with us today. You're gonna talk about data quality and the global data model. I just want to tell you that we already asked our listeners to be prepared to answer your polls and questions, so all I can say at this point is the Zoom is yours.
Thank you very much, Ira, for a nice introduction. Dobro jutro vsem in hvala Zdenka, ker ste me povabili na dan GS1. No, I really hope that I said what I wanted to say and not something bad. As you hear, my Slovenian is not really good, so I will talk in English today, and I will talk about data in the next 20 minutes. So I think we can start.
Perfect.
So we have 3 parts, or my presentation will have 3 parts. We'll do a short introduction into what data is. Then we will have a section about data quality, so how to make your data better. And then, as I've heard already in the introduction and understood a little bit, I will also talk about the global data model. So that's a new GS1 standard that was released this year, and we actually think that it's going to play a big, important role in the future. So, as I also heard Anna and Ira saying that there will be some interaction, it is true. Unfortunately, the events this year are all virtual, so it's difficult to engage with the audience. But that's why I will have some polls throughout my presentation to get some feedback from you and also to get a discussion going on. So let's try it and test it out, also to make sure that everybody is awake and had their coffee already. So you should be able to see the first poll, and I would like to ask you to just click on the role or on the type of business that your company is in. So are you retail supplier? Are you retailer? Are you service provider or solution provider? Or maybe you are in some other business, so healthcare or whatever else. So please, the floor is yours, and let's see who is with us today. Perfect. And I see that the answers are already getting in. So let's give it a few more seconds. All right. So, perfect. Okay, that's good. So it clearly shows that that people are awake. So I think we can slowly close the poll, and let's see the results. So we see that we have pretty much everyone with us today. I don't see if we have any retailers because my window is maybe a little bit cropped. But it looks like we have a good representation, and we have a lot of people coming from other types of businesses as well. So that's good to hear, and good to see that that you have such a variety of people. I will mostly talk about retail today, so product data in retail. But I think some of the examples can be very easily transferred to other sectors as well. So let's talk about the data. I will not bother you with definition of data. I will not bother you with definition of data. I think nice description is that data is the new oil. We can hear it pretty often, and I think it's true. You basically cannot do much if you don't have data, and that is especially true if you are in retail, for example. So what types of data we actually have in the GS1 world? In the GS1, we usually talk about 4 types of data. We talk about master data. So these are pretty stable. They don't change too often, and they actually describe characteristics of an object or subject. Then we have transactional data. So they actually change pretty often. They change with every transaction. And the example is, for example, electronic invoices in EDI or electronic orders. And then we talk about event data. So that's information about particular event. So for example, if you deliver goods, it is information about when that happened, how that happened, and where that happened. My presentation today will be about product master data. So that's, for example, product name, product image, or maybe ingredients. And why this information is so important, why product master data are so important. They have always been at the core of many important processes in retail. So you cannot actually do logistics, warehousing, sales, or shelf planning if you don't have information about your products. And right now we see that you need even more data. We call it data explosion, because if you want to provide your customers with a new innovative consumer experience, such as online shopping, augmented reality, virtual shelf, or maybe cashierless stores, such as Amazon Go, then you need a lot of data about your products to make that happen. But of course, having a lot of data is not good enough. If you don't have good quality data, if your data is bad, then it is actually useless that you have them. It can even be harmful. So what is good quality data? Good quality data should have a lot of characteristics. They should be for sure accurate. They should be complete. They should be available at the right time, and they should be consistent. There are some other characteristics that good quality data should have, but I think it's much more interesting to see some of the examples of the bad data in retail. So let's have a look at that, and let's go over 3 examples of bad data in retail. The first one is sort of an evergreen. It's bad dimensions and weights. I've heard from companies that it has improved a lot compared to the past, but we can still see it happening. And of course, if you have wrong dimensions and weights, you have issues with logistics. You have issues with putting the product on the shelf, and you can have issues with actually storing the product in the warehouse. Another example is wrong orders. So if you have problems with the GTINs, the product identifiers, if you don't have up-to-date information about products that have been that are not manufactured anymore, or if you have wrong information about how many products are actually in the case or on the pallet, then you end up doing wrong orders, and you can either order too little products or maybe too many products. So that's of course a problem as well. And if you are doing e-commerce, online sales, then there is a lot of things that can go wrong. So here, again, some typical examples. Some typical example is missing picture, for example. That's an issue that big online sellers, big online shops are facing. Sometimes. And of course, if you don't have a picture, then it's much less likely that the consumers will actually buy the product. Another risk is actually wrong information. So if you see this slide, you actually see right away that this ingredient list doesn't even remotely looks like beer. I mean, milk and banana juice, no thank you. But of course, if consumers see that, it affects their trust and they will buy less. Also, there is a risk if you have wrong information about, for example, allergens, then this is a safety risk and health risk. So you have to be very careful about that. And also, it's good to keep in mind that there are many regulations, either local or European, that are actually telling you that if you sell a certain product, you have to display some information. So we have that for EU regulation for food. We have EU regulation for pet food. When you sell also dangerous goods such as detergents and cleaning supplies, you have to provide certain information. So you better make sure that you actually have that information on your website. So these were like 3 examples of what can go wrong in retail and what very often goes wrong in retail. And now again, let's hear you out. And I'm interested in seeing if you have any other interesting or funny examples from your business that are actually concerning bad data quality. If you do, and if you want to share, if you can share, please type it in the chat so others can see it. And we also, at the end of the presentation, can actually discuss what we see. Maybe I forgot something that is happening in the Slovenian market. So that would be very interesting to see that. So the chat is open. And of course, if you want to share, I would like you to do that. And let's see what happens. So we actually talked about what can go wrong. I think now we can actually see how can that be improved. So what you can do to make your data better. Again, I have four things that you could do as an inspiration. And at the end, we can discuss if it would help and if it would be doable in Slovenian market. So the first thing that you can do, and that is quite obvious, is to use software. If you use the right software tools, you can actually improve the data quality. Many product information systems have built-in validations. So they make sure that you don't forget to provide mandatory information. And they also make sure that you don't break logic rules. The good news is that these validations can even be created in Excel spreadsheets. So you don't necessarily need to use something super expensive. You can even do that in Excel, and that will help. Good news is also that we see artificial intelligence and machine learning becoming more and more affordable, and that can actually make these validations very smart, so they can even more improve the quality of your data. But of course, if you have even very smart validations, they can never check everything. So many things like dimensions and weights and information from the label, they cannot be checked with validations, and you have to actually have a look at that. And we see that some retailers are actually doing it. So they take the physical product, they inspect, they see what the product is, and then they compare it with the data in the database. And if they find mistakes, they correct it. That is a good approach. However, if more retailers are doing it, then we basically end up with the situation where one product is checked by multiple different retailers for basically the same things. And since people are expensive, this is not very efficient. So what we see is happening that in many markets, they centralize this, they cooperate, and they actually have one team of people actually doing these checks for the whole market. That can often be GS1, but sometimes also it's non-GS1 company. So that is another thing that you can do. Then you can actually consolidate competence. So if you have a product, you typically have B2B information, so business to business information, such as information about your pallets, about taxes, about ordering units. And then you have B2C information. So there is information like marketing text, images, allergens, etc. Very often companies treating these information separately. So one team, one system is handling B2B part, another team of people is handling B2C part, and it doesn't always work well. But you should actually look at it as one product data. It's all one product data, and ideally you should create one digital twin of your product and have a one person or one team, one system, one channel to actually handle these data. That will make your data more available. You will have faster access to everything that you need, and it will also improve your quality because the updates will be more smooth. Okay, and then the last one, the last thing that you can do is to improve quality of your data with standards. So if you use standards, then you can improve quality. Many companies are actually realizing that product master data are a commodity. Everybody needs them. It's more or less, everybody more or less needs the same thing, and everybody gets it. So this actually opens a lot of space for cooperation that is paying off for everyone. And the next thing, important one, is to make it easy. I mean, if you make it easy for the suppliers to provide the data, it is less likely that they will make errors. And these are basically the three things that you can do to actually make it easier. So first thing is to align the attributes. Agree on common set of things that you actually exchange. Only require attributes that you are actually using, and make it simpler. It's actually what we see last year. There was American conference, and big US retailers are actually reducing number of attributes that they require from their suppliers because they want to improve the data quality. You can also align terminology, so that's pretty important. If you have clear names and definitions for the attributes that you want from your suppliers, it will be easier for them to provide you with good data. And of course, if you have common data exchange platform, so the suppliers can upload all their information in one place, in one channel, and then all retailers can take that data and use it, then it makes it much easier too. Fortunately, GS1 can help you with these three areas. So here you see examples and the standards of GS1 that can help you with that. So you can align attributes with GS1 GDM. That's the global data model. We will talk about it. You can actually use user-friendly definitions and names, the terminology with GS1 ADB, the attribute definitions for business. And then you can also use common data exchange platform. So you can exchange data via GS1 GDSN, the global data synchronization network. So these are examples of what you can do. And now I would like to hear you out and tell me a bit more about what you see as the biggest issue in Slovenia, in your business, in terms of data exchange. We have 4 options. So is it A, unclear terminology, so you don't exactly know what the retailers want from you? Or is it B, that there is so many different channels, so you have to provide data in multiple different formats, portals, etc., and it's easy to maintain it? Or is it C, because it's impossible to actually export the data from your system and send it without manual intervention? Or is it D, because it's hard to even get the data? You maybe don't even have the data that retailers want from you in your system. So then it really makes it difficult for you to provide that information. So try to think and tell us what is the biggest problem in your opinion. What is the biggest challenge for your own company when exchanging data? So we see that some answers are already flowing in. So let's give you some more time to actually think about it and say what you think. Okay, so it's interesting. And I think we can slowly start closing the poll. So 3, 2, 1, and now, let's close the poll and show the results. So if you see the results, I see that unclear terminology is the one that some people are finding challenging, but obviously the biggest problem is that there is so many different channels to provide data. And I get it. I think I actually expected this answer to happen because it's really difficult if you have to send data with so many different formats to actually maintain it. So let's move to the last part of today and talk about something that can help you. And that's the global data model. It is a new GS1 standard that has been developed quite recently. And the idea behind it is quite simple. Basically, every retailer in the world needs more or less the same information, or at least 80% of the information is more or less the same. So why not standardize these basic attributes and make it easy for everyone? Let's try to do following exercise. So imagine that you are a supplier and you want to provide information about your pallet weight. How would you do it? What do you think is the best approach? And if you are a retailer or someone who receives data, then click on the option that you would like to receive. So what structure would be best for you? Let's see what you think. Is it A, B, C, D? You see it on the slide. So just think and tell us how you would actually provide information about pallet weight. So let's give you some time to think this through. Okay, again, we are seeing some answers flowing in, so that's good. I think we can slowly start closing the poll. So let's count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0, and let's close the poll and show the results. So if you look at the results, you actually see that there are many different preferences. Some people want A, some people want C, D, and it's not important what's the best approach. It is important to see that there are many preferences. And of course, it makes it difficult. If everyone wants to have the same thing in different formats, it makes it complicated. And that's exactly what GS1 Global Data Model addresses. So it tries to align that and recommend just one recommended way. If we see what global data model is, it's actually a list of attributes. So information that you can provide about the product, like name, ingredients, allergens, etc. And these attributes are actually divided into layers. So we have global core layer with the attributes that everybody is using. So the basic. Then we have global category layer. So attributes that everybody is using for some specific category, like food or pet food. Then we have regional attributes that are used maybe in Europe, again for certain category, like food or near food maybe. And then we have country layer. So these are the local attributes, of course, that are only used in few markets. We should keep it small, but it will always be there because you have maybe local legislation. So you have to actually have country layer as well. Global data model was not created just for fun. It was created because companies saw that there are challenges in data exchange, and these challenges are bigger and bigger. So there is a McKinsey report from this year that is actually looking into these challenges. And you can see some of the numbers here. I will not go through all of them. And of course, some of the numbers can be smaller if you are in the smaller market, but they are still pretty interesting. So you see that big international suppliers actually have to maintain 500 different formats to actually serve their retailers. So that's a lot. Some of them also need to have like 700 attributes for one SKU. That's crazy number. And if we look at the retailers, the big retailers, international retailers are handling around 15,000 issues with inaccurate data each year. So the numbers are pretty big. And why global data model helps? Again, McKinsey report is trying to calculate and look at some of the benefits that you can get. And of course, you can reduce the effort that needs to be done for data exchange. And that can be reduced by 30 to 60%. If you make it simpler, then it's of course easier. And in the longer term, you can also see some benefits coming out of the better quality of data and availability of data. So you can see increased online sales, you can see basically a reduction in consumer returns, etc. So the global data model was developed with many big brands and retailers around the world. It was really, truly a global project. And the good news is that there is also a lot of big companies in retail from Consumer Goods Forum, CGF, that created Data Coalition. So that's a group of companies that already committed to implement global data model in the coming years. And you can actually see that list and more information if you click on the link in this slide. If you see your company there, because you're an international company, talk to your international colleagues about it and try to see if you can do it in Slovenia as well. And that is all from me. The last poll of today will be, what do you think can work best in Slovenian market? So based on what you heard today, what do you think would help Slovenian market the most and what would actually work? So we have three options. Is it A, agree and use common set of attributes based on the GS1 global data model? We have four. Or is it agree and use common attribute names and definitions based on GS1 ADB? Or is it to use GS1 GDSN as a common data exchange platform? Or is it to introduce data quality check service that would be serving the whole market? So what do you think could work best in Slovenia? That's, of course, an inspiration for GS1 Slovenia to actually look at these topics, prioritize, and then also work with the community and try to make it happen. So it's up to you. And I see some answers already flowing in, so that's a good thing. Okay. So I think we can slowly start closing the poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's close it and look at the results. We can share the results, and you can see if you look at it that you feel that the global data model could actually help, and that is, I think, very true. Aligning the attributes is really not that difficult. Now you have a recommendation how to do it. And of course, that could improve the situation in any market a lot. So I would like to conclude. Today in the afternoon, my colleague from GS1 Slovenia, Mateja Podlogar, will have a flash talk about some of the things that I talked today as well. So you will have a chance to learn more about global data model, about ADB and terminology. So I would really suggest to wait until the afternoon and hear that out. And I think that's it from me. Najlepša hvala in uživajte v preostalem dogodku. I hope I said that right. And yeah, if you have any questions, just ask me.
Thank you, Tomasz. Thank you for a presentation. It was very interactive. There is a lot going on with global data model. Although we are a bit tight with time, I would still like to ask you one quick question. Would it be too cheeky to say that GDM is as revolutionary as GTN?
Yeah, I think it can actually happen if we have a lot of implementation in the next few years, in the near future. Then I think it can be really revolutionary in the data exchange. So yes, I'm an optimist, and I would say it can be said.
Thank you, Tomasz. Also for staying with us in case of any additional questions in our chat box.
For sure. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. O globalnem podatkovnem modelu bomo zagotovo še slišali. Če ne prej, bo danes ob 13:30 o njem v delu med vrsticami spregovorila strokovnjakinja iz GS1 Slovenija, doktorica Mateja Podlogar. Odgovorila bo lahko tudi na vsa vprašanja, ki jih imate o globalnem podatkovnem modelu. Povezava na popoldanski dogodek med vrsticami vas čaka pod videom.
Mi pa gremo dalje, v Švico. Dr. Klaus Fuchs je direktor za industrijsko sodelovanje pri novo ustanovljenem ETH AI centru in pomočnik direktorja za razvoj pri Auto ID Labs v ETH Zürich. Je tudi sopredsednik delovnega telesa Digital Receipt Interest Group. Sodeluje tudi skupino kolegov iz GS1 nacionalnih predstavništev iz celega sveta. V svojem raziskovalnem delu se dr. Fuchs osredotoča na uporabo strojnega učenja za napovedovanje vedenja potrošnikov na podlagi podatkov iz digitalnega računa. Povedal nam bo tudi, zakaj so prav kakovostni podatki osnova za inovativne rešitve in kako lahko inovativne rešitve vplivajo na gospodarske in negospodarske panoge.
Mr. Fuchs, hello. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us. We are very glad.
Yes.
And that you will share your knowledge with us. Hi. I'm just gonna say, over to you.
Thank you very much. Yes. My name is Klaus Fuchs. I'm a researcher in ETH Zurich in Switzerland. We have a long-term relationship with GS1. I think it's 17 years of partnership that got us to this point today. And in one of my research fields, I really focus on digital receipts. And I chose this topic today because it is very near to us. I think all our GS1 members have digital receipts, have heard of them, but most of them do not use them yet. But I think over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, we will all get used to digital receipts and feel them as being normal. And I will show you a bit today why this is the case. So first, I want to give you a small example, a short video of what's really happening. And you see in the bottom, this was a project together with GS1 Sweden, where digital receipts are already normal. They're very non-cash society already. We in Switzerland are not yet at this point, but I see more and more countries going into that direction. And without further ado, a short video to start. Okay. Okay, sure. I can comment then. What you saw is that digital receipts are really using a lot of resources, forests, and there's even oil byproducts, bisphenol A, to make the digital receipt durable. It's also not sustainable, and that's why a lot of people are asking to move to digital, and that's not only because of sustainability, and many more reasons are at play here. I will today give you some examples of why these digital receipts have so much potential for us as GS1, for our members and for our end consumers. I will present a bit about the digital receipt interest group and the challenges and what we can do to see this as an opportunity. First, a small introduction. Digital receipts are machine readable electronic substitutes for their paper-based counterparts. And we want them to have line items and product data in there, similar to printed receipt. And we don't call PDFs a digital receipt, but they should be standardized, for example, as XML files. In the future, we see them being exchanged after credit card or mobile payment, or even after cash payment, and after the identification of the consumer. And that this is not something from space, but realistic. I showed you already a small video of Flux in the UK. We also see companies in Scandinavia doing this. For example, Kivra from Sweden. They send millions of digital receipts each year already for the top 10 retailers who all adopted digital receipts already. And also we see action in Australia, Finland, and then also in Switzerland. And I'm very convinced that this will be the new normal very soon. Why are we seeing digital receipts so prominent now? It's first of all, everything is becoming more digital. We want to have mobile payment, and then we get a printed piece of paper that feels outdated. We have mobile payment. In France, even paper receipts are being banned for small purchases, so even regulation is stepping up. Also, the GDPR has some ideas for digital receipts that you can ask for your data. And how do you do this? My historic purchases, then you already speak about digital receipts. So we have a lot of societal drivers and also some business drivers. I think every company has some kind of idea how to become sustainable. If you think about cashless checkout, the digital receipt even saves some time at each transaction. You can do personalized marketing. You can build up trust, for example, with recalls pushed to the mobile phone. And it's about product activation also, where you can then activate purchase products digitally. Digital receipts are a huge topic. As you can see, it touches many facets of our lives. And I want to highlight just 4 small use cases. I mean, they're not small, but I think very foreseeable ones that we will definitely see over the next 5 years. Targeted recalls, sustainability, nutrition, and GDPR. And if you want further information, I think these slides are being shared at the end with the audience. There are links to position paper and white paper, how we as the GS1 Digital Receipt Interest Group see how we can engage in this and what we need to do to be successful in this. So, for example, the targeted recall is a huge topic. We do traceability from the supply side to the retailer, but not yet to the end consumer. Why? Because the information chain is sort of stops at the store, and the digital receipt can extend this. So when we move to digital receipts, we can then do recalls on the, for example, the mobile phone of the consumer. This is possible, and we already as GS1 have standards for traceability, and we would love to see this being extended to the end consumer. It doesn't have to be personalized. There can be decentralized identifiers and so on. So it doesn't have to be a privacy violation. There's also architectures that make this possible without identification. But this is one of the, I think, very promising use cases of digital receipts. Another one is sustainability. For example, a product passport. So what do you do with a product? Where do you recycle it? When I give it to a store for recycling, where do they have to do to send it? What kind of materials are in there? You can hand over guarantees to a buyer, even as a second-hand use product. And of course, we can nudge people based on purchase data. So when we see a user buys very unsustainable, we can give them information how to change that to become more sustainable. The topic of nutrition is, I've been working on this for 5 years now. So this is sort of where my expertise lies. When we think about what we buy, it really is you are what you buy, especially for food. You eat the products you buy, and it sort of is true. You are what you eat. We in Switzerland have a panel of users who give us their data very frequently, and we do build machine learning models, sort of artificial intelligence models, that tell us based on what you buy, how you eat. On the one hand, you have household data. On the other hand, you have individual diets, but they're very correlated. Of course, there's food waste, and I don't see the restaurant habits, but I see it sort of, I call it the salami to salad ratio, right? So how healthy do you shop? And this correlates very well with how you eat. And we also have a mobile app where consumers can track their shopping and get recommendation on how to eat healthier. Of course, some brands and retailers might not like this vision, but with the Nutri-Score and the increased transparency, I think this is the only way that society will move to. And I think this is clear that transparency is the new normal. We were awarded a research grant to continue this work for 4 more years. And here GS1 can really play and contribute nicely with the product master data and data quality, right? To make this possible, we need good ingredient data of products, updated and for the whole market. And this is really an interesting avenue to go to. We see that consumers in Switzerland like this app. They use it very frequently, and they change behavior also after a while. They don't drastically shift their categories, but they move, for example, from red Coca-Cola to Coke Zero and so on. So it does change a bit, especially in beverages. But yeah, this is a very interesting world to play in. And I think with the machine learning models, we can really detect healthy and especially unhealthy behavior early. We can help consumers become healthier much earlier than when a doctor tells them you have diabetes, right? This is then 10 to 20 years too late. And we want to make this possible much more earlier. So in your 20s already, in your 30s already, that you can really see how healthy you shop. And without having to log your diet in some mobile app every meal and so on, this is automatically, digital receipts make this possible to learn about your nutritional patterns much earlier than when a doctor tells you. Another use case is GDPR. It's a word we all have become very familiar with. GDPR allows for data portability. So data portability means that I, as a European consumer, can ask for my data from any company, be it Apple, Google, Facebook, or be it my retailer loyalty card. So a company has to give me the data. Can be messages or photos or emails, but it can also be purchases. And when we speak about purchases, we maybe want to combine the data from loyalty card A and B and C, from Amazon and Tesco and so on. And here there's no such standard existing yet. There's a group of tech companies called the Data Transfer Project that builds such standards for images and messages and so on. They don't have digital receipts in their scope yet. But I think also here again, it's clear that there will be some standards in the objects that we share in GDPR. And why not make a digital receipt standard? I think that's very needed to then make sense of all my spending from loyalty card A and B and C, to make analytics about where can I save money, or how sustainable did I shop where, how healthy did I shop where are my guarantees running out soon. So to make this possible, a data model would be great to see. And I think there's also lots of potential for society behind this. So this is these are 4 use cases that we discussed in the Digital Receipt Interest Group. We are 10 GS1 member organizations and 2 research labs, we, the Swiss one, and the one in Cambridge. We want to create this common understanding of helping our members to make decisions in this area, how to do digital receipts, how can the data object look like, how to make it future-proof. There are certain recommendations that we already are doing in the papers that we publish, but of course this is an ongoing process, and we will learn a lot over the next years on how to make this possible. Because there are certain challenges that I want to mention today. It's not an easy path to get there. We have to climb over a high wall, meaning data quality for product data is very important, right? We have to make sure our data is in good quality. We have to think about how to standardize a digital receipt. We have to think about how to identify shoppers for giving the right person the right digital receipt. At some point, we have to do this internationally, and credit card, this already works beautifully. I can use my Slovenian credit card in Switzerland and vice versa, but the digital receipt does not flow yet around the same route. Traceability still stops at the store, and we want to have traceability to the end consumer at some point. And of course, a lot of our members are a bit scared of this new world and how to make this an opportunity, how to, of course, you have to share data with the individual, but how to maybe also make customers more used to the services around it. I mean, a retailer could share data, but they can also make a nutrition app around this, and then customers already want maybe to use the loyalty card more often. And see this, I really want to urge you to see this as an opportunity rather than a threat. I think this new world is fascinating and allows for much more potential. So let's join our ideas and activities and help each other to identify, standardize, and make this an interoperable world. And I want to thank you for listening today, and hopefully together at some point we move from paper receipts to digital receipts with all the opportunities around this. I think the path is quite clear, and I would love to see Europe playing a front position in this. We have Sweden already as a cashless society. We have the GDPR European project. We all think sustainability is important. So I think Europe has a really good opportunity here to make this happen. And I would love Slovenia also to play a role in this. So thank you very much for having me today, and I look forward to your feedback.
Mr. Fuchs, thank you. That was a lot of new information for sure. And digital receipt is really interesting innovation. But can the quality of data be a barrier to implement digital receipt?
Sure. talk about data quality. I've been in this for 5 years already, and I did my research work around this, and data quality was the main challenge. So, for example, the two retailers I work with in Switzerland are Coop and Migros, the number 1 and 2 retailers here, and they don't have the same. They don't use GTIL in digital receipts, right? They use their own identifiers. So I have to make a matching between the Coca-Cola and Coop and the Coca-Cola and Migros, and this was many months of manual work for thousands and thousands of products. So of course, at some point, this is doable, but plays this amazing role of creating these standards, but retailers also have to use it then. So data quality is important also with the nutritional information. We know with 1169, right, EU 1169, the declaration of nutrients online for products sold online is also now a couple of years old. So also here we have data quality and also data quality issues, right? When we think about nutrition, I need to know how much sugar is in this product, and if I have the wrong value, everything falls apart. So yes, data quality is key as always. There are very interesting ways nowadays how to make data quality better, also with artificial intelligence. So for example, we use text-based approaches and also some quantified approaches. So when a product is in a beverage category, it cannot have proteins. So of course, there are many rules around data quality where we can make automatic system to help us. But yes, it's a never-ending challenge, data quality, but it's also fascinating. We get there.
Thank you, Mr. Fuchs, also for staying with us in case of any additional questions in our chat box. Thank you.
Sure, I will be there. I have time until 2 p.m., so keep the questions coming.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zdaj pa je že čas za naše zlate in srebrne sponzorje, ki se jim še posebej zahvaljujemo za podporo. Z nami so danes srebrni sponzorji Špica, EOS KSI in Petrol ter 2 zlata sponzorja Pantheon Group in ZZI, spletno platformo v oblaku BizBox. Platforma v oblaku BizBox omogoča uporabnikom prijazno brezpapirno poslovanje in povezovanje z drugimi poslovnimi partnerji brez dodatnih namestitev programske opreme in stroškov. BizBox ponuja preprosto in fleksibilno uporabniško izkušnjo. Poglejmo si BizBox video predstavitev zlatega sponzorja ZZI.
Želite nadgraditi svoje poslovanje, da bo še bolj učinkovito, varno in zanesljivo? Spoznajte BizBox, največje omrežje za izmenjavo e-računov v Sloveniji. Prihodnost digitalizacije poslovanja prinaša optimizacijo delovnih procesov, ki z avtomatizacijo nemudoma poveča učinkovitost. Omogoča večjo varnost in zanesljivost, s centralizacijo informacij in sledljivostjo procesov pa poskrbi za varno hrambo informacij in zmanjša možnost za človeške napake. Z opustitvijo papirnega poslovanja odpiramo nove možnosti in povečujemo doprinos okolju. BizBox je platforma za elektronsko poslovanje, ki se ponaša s sodobnimi storitvami in rešitvami. Služi kot ekosistem za povezovanje poslovnih partnerjev in izmenjavo elektronskih dokumentov. V sklopu platforme pridobite brezplačen e-nabiralnik za prejem e-dokumentov, orodja za pripravo e-računov, izmenjavo e-dokumentov, e-imenik ali elektronsko hrambo. BizBox zagotavlja personalne storitve elektronske izmenjave, pripravljene po meri velikih, a primernih tudi za mala podjetja. Predstavlja del bankar sistema za izmenjavo e-računov in je povezan z Upravo Republike Slovenije za javna plačila. BizBox je povezan z globalnimi omrežji in deluje tudi v sosednjih državah. Je del EU in globalne mreže EDI ponudnikov preko PayPal omrežja. BizBox je osrednje stičišče Evropske unije za poslovni sektor v Sloveniji. Temelji na izmenjavi dokumentov v e-slog 2.0, kar zagotavlja ustrezno skladnost z zakonodajo. BizBox deluje kot enotna točka za povezovanje različnih organizacij, ki se izmenjujejo različne tipe elektronskih dokumentov, ne glede na lokacijo ali izbrani standard. BizBox je vgrajen v preko 50 poslovnih sistemov v sodelovanju z več kot 40 partnerji. Vse to omogoča naše podjetje ZZI, ki je zasnovalo BizBox. Z BizBoxom enostavno in hitro vstopite v svet elektronskega poslovanja. Preidite na brezpapirno poslovanje že danes.
Hvala ZZI. Zdaj pa si privoščimo kratek odmor, imamo 20 minut, se vidimo torej na istem mestu spet 11:15. Hvala lepa. Ira, kje si pa dobila tole luštno kapo?
GS1 Slovenija še naprej ohranja tradicijo obdarovanja udeležencev Dneva GS1 Slovenija. Le, da jih boste tokrat zaradi virtualne izvedbe dogodka prejeli po pošti. Kaj vse se še skriva v vrečki, boste lahko preverili že v naslednjih dneh. Sponzorjem ZZI, Pantheon Group, Špica, EOS KSI in Petrol pa samo še kapo dol.
Odlično. Vsakega udeleženca bo torej kmalu čakalo presenečenje. Prijetno presenečeni pa boste tudi udeleženci popoldanskega dela med vrsticami, za katere prav tako pripravljamo nekaj posebnega. Dan GS1 Slovenija pa prehaja v drugi tematski sklop, kjer bomo na praktičnih primerih lahko pogledali, kako dobro izkoristiti kakovostne podatke in globalne standarde GS1. Čas je za našega naslednjega gosta. Preko zaslona se nam bo v studiu pridružil gospod Matijas Kinzel, direktor oddelka za logistiko in skladiščenje v Spar Avstrija. Predstavil nam bo pomen dobrih podatkov, ki so ključni pri komunikaciji med različnimi deležniki v procesih znotraj podjetja in med poslovnimi partnerji. Povedal bo še, katere standarde GS1 uporabljajo v Spar Avstrija za učinkovito komunikacijo v notranji in zunanji logistiki. Med njimi sta tudi Dispatch Advice in SSCC. Mr. Kinzel, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thank
I
you
hope
for...
everyone can hear me.
Yeah, we
Yes,
can
we
hear
do.
you, we can see you, everything works perfectly. Thank you for your time, for being here with us. We are looking forward hearing about using GS1 global standards in Spar Austria. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure presenting this topic to you. I've prepared 3 examples in Spar Austria where we use the GS1 standards and examples that show how much this helps in the process automation. I've prepared the GS1 128, the pallet label, as you mentioned, the SSCC, and the dispatch advice. So starting with the GS1 128, I always start with the process. It's clear we need the label on the product in the process of picking. So the picker scans every product. That's very clear. And now the requirement is for all fresh products, we need the correct expiry date for the fresh products. And for all random weight products, we need, of course, the correct weight. So how can we secure this? It's the only solution is for us the GS1 128. As you can see here, sorry, the picture isn't too good. I'm not allowed to go to the warehouses at the moment, but you see all the important information that we need. So you see here the application identifier 1 is the global trade item number. So this is the article inside the barcode. Then you have the expiry date, application identifier 15. You can see it here in the barcode in this area. And because this is a weighted article, you also see encoded the weight. So this is application identifier 31, and then you have different possibilities. Here's all the information that we need. And the result is the expiry date as well as the weight are automatically extracted from the GS1 128. So the picker only has to scan every barcode and all the information is extracted automatically. He does not need to insert anything manually. So this is time saving, but no errors and mistakes can be made because of a manual process. Everything is done in this order automatically. The advantage for us, we have the security to deliver only products to our stores with the correct storage life. So no expired articles and no old articles, but only fresh ones. We are absolutely secure about that. And regarding the random weight articles, we have the security really to invoice only the correct weight. If the picker again has to insert something manually, there a lot of errors can happen. Inside the barcode, it's always correct. And in the end, this label, this standard saves us 10 to 20% of the picking time for all fresh products. And the GS1 128 is a standard for all fresh articles. Okay, jumping to the next standard, which is also in Austria, is the pallet label. Starting with the process, we need the pallet label for the goods arrival process, for the incoming goods. Our personnel, they have to check, of course, the product, the article, which one is it? They have to count the quantity, they have to check the expiry date, the weight, the batch, and so on. And now our requirement is that all these informations that we need for the goods arrival process are displayed on this label. As I mentioned here, the global trade item number, the quantity, the expiry date, the batch, the weight, everything. The second requirement would be that we need a unique address for each pallet. So if we store it, we know precisely where it is, and this is the SSCC. And of course, the third requirement would be for automated warehouses the correct placement of this pallet label. The solution is a pallet label. Again, the picture isn't too pretty, but what's only important is the information that is given on the pallet label. The solution is the GS1 128 pallet label. We have the SSCC, this is the application identifier 00. This is the unique address of the pallet. This is very important, also later for the dispatch advice. We have the product, which is on the pallet, the global trade item number, as you can see here, and all the other information. For example, the quantity, in this case here, 46 pieces. We have the expiry date, which is in this case here, in the second line. And we have, of course, the batch. In case if there is any health risk or something like that, we can look where we send these articles to. And of course, optional in case of random weight articles, we also have the weight as you can see here in this picture. So all the information that we need for our goods arrival process are inside this pallet label. So the result, as I said, all the information is there, and the goods arrival personnel, really, they only have to scan both lines, and all the information is extracted automatically to our warehouse management system. Again, all this information, they don't have to do it, to insert it manually. Everything is extracted from the barcode. So again, there are no errors, there are no mistakes by any manual process. It's not very time demanding in comparison to inserting everything. And again, we have the security to store only pallets to the warehouse with correct data. There can't be anything wrong because we get it correctly from our suppliers. We know exactly where each pallet is stored because of the SSCC. We have to scan the SSCC, then there is a transport to the storage, and we know precisely the position where this pallet is. And the last security we have over the whole supply chain, as I mentioned before, if there is any health risk because of the batch number, we really can look to which store we have sent this batch. So we are very secure regarding this. And it also saves time, up to 10% of time in the whole goods arrival process. And this is valid for all products, so not only fresh products. So, and the last step, the highest, of course, is the dispatch advice. The process is again the same as I mentioned before. It's the goods arrival process. And we need as well, of course, the same information that I mentioned before. And the requirement now is the automation of the complete goods arrival process from a system point of view. The unloading from the truck is not inside this, that's clear, but for the technical point of view. So we need all the information of the products, the global trade item number, the quantity, everything. We need it in the dispatch advice, and we need it prior to the actual delivery. The solution is that the supplier sends us the dispatch advice according to the Spar order number. So the Spar order number is very important in the dispatch advice. After ordering, the supplier is collecting more or less our order, places it, and finalizes it. And after that, he sends the dispatch advice. The dispatch advice is coming to our ERP system with all the information that we need. And our ERP system checks if the dispatch advice is technically correct. If that is not the case, we don't get it in the warehouse management system, then we would have the manual process. But if it's okay, and this is mostly the case, like 99.9%, the dispatch advice is then sent to our warehouse management system, so we can use it. And the result is clear. We have all the important data that we need for the whole for the complete goods arrival process. We receive it in advance to the delivery. And this is a very important step, the goods arrival personnel only has to scan the SCCC of one pallet of this delivery. With the first scan, he opens more or less the delivery in the warehouse management system. And with the second scan, he basically finalizes the goods arrival process. So this is it. Only one pallet scanned of the whole delivery and everything is completed. It's clear this is a fast process, but the dispatch advice gives you also the possibility to put additional information inside this dispatch advice. For example, since 2 months, we're using the CRI of pooling pallets and boxes, for example, IFCO boxes and IFCO pallets. And we use that for the automated bookings that we send to IFCO. So there are a lot of extra possibilities that you can put inside the dispatch advice. And of course, a huge advantage, which we use now in the fruits and veg area, the goods arrival process, the whole process can be made without very special trained personnel. Anybody can do it. Me, myself, I can do it, even though I haven't done it since 5 years or so. So it's a very easy process. But there's always a but. On the other hand, there is a huge dependency on the suppliers because they have to send you the correct data. You really need to trust them and they have to send you the correct data. If that is okay, it's absolutely perfect. In our case, it's working really, really well in all kinds of assortment for all, more or less, a lot of suppliers. And this is the end now. It saves up to 50% of the whole time of the goods arrival process. And this is valid for all assortments and all products. So this is a huge time benefit if the dispatch advice is working. So this is it so far, those 3 examples. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please tell me.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzel. That was really interesting insight. Thank you for sharing it with us. So regarding COVID-19 things in logistics have changed in your company. You said that you are working well with your suppliers, but how do you ensure and control the quality of the data and the quality of barcodes from your suppliers?
Yes, this is a very important topic because prior to the first delivery, we ask all suppliers to send us samples of barcodes, GS1 128, and as well the pallet label. We want to be secure that the barcode quality and all the technical aspects are dealt correctly. So they send us a sample. We are checking that those samples if they're correct and tell the suppliers.
Thank you. Ira, imamo še kakšno vprašanje?
Yeah, we do. Hi, Mr. Kinzel. I have 1 or 2 maybe additional questions. Could you assess how widespread the use of dispatch advice is in Austria?
I would say every big supplier has dispatch advice. This is the case. If I look at the quantity in the ambient area, like beverages or so, I would say we receive for 50% of all the quantity, we receive a dispatch advice. And in the fresh area, we receive about 75% of the whole quantity dispatch advice.
Have you perhaps noticed an increase in the use of dispatch advice in recent years?
I would say that since the last 2 or 3 years, there was, in our case, only one huge supplier which has dispatch advice new. All the rest is more or less basically since 2 or 3 years. It's the same. It's one supplier in the fruits and vegetables area, but this is also a very, very good example how the impact is for us, because before that we didn't have any supply in the fruits and vegetable area where we have dispatch advice, and after that basically up to 90% of the fruits and vegetables quantity is covered by dispatch advice. And nearly all the warehouses cut the incoming times for the half. So they finish the whole incoming process in half the time.
Yeah, exactly. Half the time, and time is money. So do you think that there's still a lot to be done for the business environment to perceive the benefits of using dispatch advice?
I would say maybe for the smaller suppliers, maybe they are technically not that far to have everything inside their ERP and warehouse management system. Maybe solutions for the small suppliers should be forced, and maybe they should be also engaged to use different EDI news like orders or invoice to have a complete to more complete the process and more use the EDI news.
Do you have any suggestions perhaps on how to bring the benefits closer to the business environment?
To the business environment, I would say if I look at the suppliers, I would say they have a more or less automated process. If they use EDI messages like dispatch advice, they have a very automated process. That's clear. For all the companies like Spar or our competitors, it's also clear. If we trust the suppliers, we can save a lot of time, and we can save also a lot of discussion. Who made the mistake? Maybe the supplier, or we did it wrong in the goods arrival process.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kinzel. Hopefully we see you soon, maybe in person next time, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All the best for you too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Torej, vidimo, da so v Sparu Avstrijo spoznali prednost uporabe SSCC in Dispatch Advice. Kakšno pa je stanje v Sloveniji? V GS1 Slovenija smo v letu 2019 pripravili raziskavo na področju uporabe SSCC in elektronske dobavnice Dispatch Advice. Takrat smo ugotovili, da je dobra polovica članov GS1 Slovenija, ki upravlja z logističnimi enotami za identifikacijo, že začela z uporabo SSCC. Odstotek uporabnikov elektronske dobavnice pa bil takrat še precej nižji, le 31%. Zaradi epidemije se je slika danes verjetno spremenila, saj se je v zadnjem letu povečalo tudi število članov s potrebami po SSCC in elektronski izmenjavi podatkov. Če bi danes ponovili raziskavo, verjamemo, da bi bili ti odstotki že višji.
Žal se je moral naš naslednji gost, gospod Adrian Verbič, vodja logistike v Spar Slovenija, opravičiti, ker se nam zaradi neodložljivih obveznosti ne bo mogel pridružiti na dogodku. Ne boste pa v celoti prikrajšani za napovedani prispevek. GS1 Slovenija je v sodelovanju s partnerjema Spar Slovenija in VR za izobraževalne namene pripravil pilotni primer uporabe virtualne resničnosti na primeru procesa prevzema blaga v okolju distribucijskega centra Spar Slovenija. V celoti bo primer na voljo v začetku prihodnjega leta. Danes pa si bomo skupaj ogledali en manjši del, video, ki smo ga malo hudomušno poimenovali Dirka prevzemnikov. Kot je zapisal gospod Verbič, na praktičnem primeru boste videli, zakaj Spar Slovenija tako zelo zagovarja uporabo standardov GS1, zakaj so se osredotočili na dobro berljivost črtne kode in kako lahko z enolično identifikacijo ter računalniško izmenjavo podatkov optimiziramo procese v distribucijskem centru.
Čisto konkretno, v videu boste videli, kaj pomeni prevzeti blago ročno, brez ustrezne logistične nalepke in brez elektronske dobavnice, kaj pomeni, če je paleta označena z ustrezno logistično nalepko in so kode dobro berljive, vendar ne dobiš podatkov o blagu prek dobavnice, ter kaj se zgodi v primeru, ko so vse palete označene z logistično nalepko GS1 in so že vnaprej znani podatki o prejetem blagu, ki jih prejmejo prek e-dobavnice Dispatch Advice. Najbrž marsikdo že ve, kdo bo zmagovalec. So pa razlike v času in številu prevzetega blaga oziroma palet tako velike, da se tega morda doslej še nismo zavedali. V ogled dirke naj vas popeljejo besede gospoda Verbiča. Video bo v dobri minuti povedal več, kot bi jaz v 10. Bodite pa pozorni, ni važna le hitrost, bistvena je zanesljivost in kakovost podatkov. O prihrankih pri uporabi standardov GS1 pa smo tudi že slišali pri predhodnem predavatelju iz Spar Avstrije.
Pa si kar poglejmo video. Hvala Sparu Slovenija za nazoren in hudomušen primer uporabe standardov GS1 v praksi in tudi za vsa njihova prizadevanja. Veliko je vpeljal standardov GS1 v njihove poslovne procese. O tem, kako pomembna je pravilna identifikacija izdelkov, ki omogoča dober zajem in izmenjavo podatkov, boste lahko še več izvedeli in tudi vprašali ob 15. uri, ko se nam bo med vrsticami pridružil GS1 strokovnjak za označevanje enot s črtno kodo, Matjaž Martini. Zdaj pa bo z nami prav posebna gostja. Zdravnica, ki se ne ustraši novih izzivov, njene dolgoletne izkušnje pa govorijo same zase. Na zdravniškem parketu danes nastopa v dvojni vlogi. Dela v javnem zavodu kot specialistka urgentne medicine, v zasebnem zavodu pa vodi ambulanto družinske medicine. Pred kratkim je sprejela tudi vlogo ambasadorke za zdravstvo pri GS1 Slovenija. Tema ji namreč ni tuja, saj že od nekdaj stremi k kakovosti in harmonizaciji delovnih procesov. V studiu pozdravljamo doktorico Gordano Kalan-Živčec. Pozdravljena, gospa doktor. Hvala.
Dober dan.
Pozdravljena. Hvala, da ste si vzeli čas in se nam pridružili na dnevu GS1 Slovenija. Komaj čakamo vašo predstavitev, zato naj le še rečem, beseda je vaša.
Hvala GS1 za to prijazno povabilo in seveda tudi zahvaljujem se vsem vašim udeležencem danes, da so namenili čas tako pomembni temi, kot so baze podatkov in njihova uporaba v praksi. Kot ste povedali, kot zdravnica družinske medicine in urgentne medicine, mogoče ne sodim v ta sklop, vendar pa kot uporabnik vaših storitev in tudi kot na koncu ponudnik vaših storitev, lahko pokažem, na kakšen način uporabniki potrebujemo storitve, kot so standardizacija, kakovost in seveda tudi sledljivost. Moja današnja tema govori o javnih naročilih medicinskih pripomočkov, ki je v zadnjih letih zelo jasno predstavljena tudi v medijih in verjamem, da marsikdo med vašimi poslušalci, današnjim občinstvom se sprašuje, kako je tako zelo zahtevno naročati medicinske pripomočke, ko pa je vendarle v nekih drugih sektorjih, nekih drugih branžah to zelo poenostavljeno. Špar Slovenija zagotovo lažje naroča svoje izdelke, kot jih nabavnik v nekem javnem zavodu ali v zdravstveni organizaciji. In s tem povezano bi želela predstaviti 3 dileme, kako zelo sta si naročanje rokavic, urinskih katetrov ali celo srčnih zaklop ali žilnih opornic pravzaprav zelo podobna in upam, da vas zanima, kdo je odgovoren za jasnost in preglednost podatkov, ki so na teh izdelkih označeni in so tudi pomembni za primerljivost. In kot verjetno veste, zdravstvene delavce in tudi njihove sodelavce zelo pogosto obiskujejo trgovski potniki, ki seveda prinašajo dobrodošle informacije, vendar samo o svojem izdelku, za svojega vidnega kota in seveda so to promotorji, ob tem, da so tudi informatorji. In skozi današnjo prezentacijo vam želim pokazati, kako zelo je pomembno, da imamo vsi skupaj jasno informacijo, ki je preverljiva, zanesljiva, zato ker ti podatki so edini dobra osnova za odločanje. Pri odločitvah seveda velikokrat spremljamo ta bolj medijski spin, pozabljamo pa na dimenzijo kakovosti in strokovnega odločanja, ki temelji na standardiziranih podatkih. In tudi, ko se neka odločitev o nabavi sprejme v medicini, je zelo redko in zelo premalo pogosto možno nevtralno in ponovljivo odločanje. Tu govorim iz 2 zornih kotov. Nevtralno v smislu tega, da dejansko uporabnik prejme tisti medicinski pripomoček, ki ga resnično potrebuje, ne ki si ga želi ali pa mu ga nekdo zelo dobro predstavi. In seveda, da je ta odločitev tudi ponovljiva, kar pomeni, da je bila dobra in kakovostna. In če se odločamo, kako bomo naročali nek medicinski pripomoček, ta odločitev ne sme vedno in samo temeljiti na najnižji ceni. Če vam dam za primerjavo recimo ortopedske kolke. Ortopedski kolki, zamenjava za poškodovani kolek, je lahko iz različnih od različnih ponudnikov iz različnih materialov. Ampak kateri izdelek potrebuje prav ta uporabnik, je seveda zdravniška odločitev, ker temelji na individualnih sposobnostih oziroma lastnostih organizma. Verjetno se bomo pa vsi takoj razumeli, če vam povem, da nekdo, ki dobi kolk pri 40 letih ali pa pri 80 letih, ne potrebuje enakega kolka. To je ta medicinska odločitev. In ko se na drugi strani odločamo, kateri izdelek bomo temu pacientu namenili, je potrebno, da se odločamo na podlagi standardiziranih kriterijev, da so te odločitve nevtralne in ponovljive in primerljive. Tukaj je velikokrat težava v tem, da zdravniki pravzaprav ne poznamo vseh elementov izdelka, ki ga naročamo, oziroma mogoče poznamo elemente samo tistega izdelka, ki ga vsakodnevno uporabljamo, ob tem pa se ne zavedamo, da je na tržišču na razpolago veliko drugih primerljivih in seveda enako učinkovitih izdelkov, kot jih uporabljamo v vsakodnevni praksi. In če dovolite, bom skozi na videz zelo različne medicinske pripomočke predstavila elemente, kako zelo je pomembno, da nek izdelek, kot je recimo tukaj so danes popularne maske, za izdelek ni samo pomembno, kakšen je po lastnostih, ampak tudi s kakšnim namenom se uporablja. Tukaj sem želela mogoče še predstaviti recimo ta puls oksimeter, se pravi izdelek, ki ga damo na prst in s katerim merimo pulsno, torej saturacijo kisika v krvi, kar je v primeru infekcije s koronavirusno boleznijo izjemno pomemben podatek tudi v kliničnem odločanju. Ampak teh izdelkov je cela kopica, večino jih umešča med medicinske pripomočke. Za mene je medicinski pripomoček dejansko samo pripomoček, ki se uporablja z namenom zdravljenja oziroma uporabe v medicinske namene. Ker ta isti pulzni oksimeter lahko uporablja športnik recimo na fitnessu, nekje v okolju, kjer je zaželeno imeti vrednost utripa in tudi zanesljivo izmerjeno saturacijo kisika v krvi. Recimo tudi pri vzponih na višine. Nedavno sem bila na Triglavu in sem imela osebno izkušnjo z višinsko boleznijo, ki me je zelo presenetila, ampak če bi imela takrat s seboj oksimeter, bi se tega tudi realno zavedala in vedela, kako je to elementarni podatek za način vzpona v nadaljevanju. Želim pa pokazati, da te maske tukaj, nekatere so kirurške, nekatere so zelo močne kirurške, torej imajo še večjo zaščito, nekatere so pa čisto kozmetične. Ta posnetek je vzet strani, ki govori o tem, kako so učinkovite kakšne maske. Med temi maskami je njihova učinkovitost za zaščito sebe in okolico izjemno različna, kar pomeni, da bi bilo dobro za tiste, ki te maske uporablja in tudi ki jih naroča, vedeti, kakšne so njihove lastnosti. Drugo je recimo tale škatla z rokavicami, ki so seveda za medicinske namene, lahko jih uporabljamo tudi druge, ampak te so namenjene medicinskemu namenu. Vendar, če nimamo podatka, ali je število rokavic v tej škatli na par ali na kos, seveda ta, ki se odloča, se lahko odloči pri nabavi za 50% narobe. In danes je bilo že predstavljeno, kako zelo je pomembno, da je unificirana identifikacija posameznega izdelka oziroma izdelka, ki je pakiran v večjih količinah. In rokavice so tipičen primer, da tudi jaz, ko vzamem škatlo v roke, ne vem, koliko je notri rokavic, če to seveda ni označeno, da so to pari ali kosi. Nobenega dvoma ni, da tole je žilna opornica, ki jo vstavimo v zaprto srčno žilo ali pa seveda srčne zaklopke ali celo kolki. To zagotovo so medicinski pripomočki, ki so tudi zelo dragi in o žilnih opornicah poslušamo že nekaj let, kako so zelo različne cene tega izdelka v Evropski uniji in tudi na svetovnih trgih, pa vendarle ne primerjamo vedno istih izdelkov. Kako primerjamo dva izdelka? Lahko vam povem, da je seveda izdelek različen glede na to, iz kakšnega materiala je izdelan, na to, kakšne so njegove lastnosti, torej a je prevlečen s kako dodatno osnovjo, ki preprečuje zamašitev, oziroma kakšne so slabosti in prednosti tega izdelka. Koliko časa tak izdelek zdrži, pravi neka dolgoročna uporaba, ki je pripeljala do jasnih kliničnih rezultatov zdravljenja. Prav tako tale žilna oziroma tale srčna zaklopka, ki jo vstavimo skozi žilo in predstavlja za pacienta izjemno veliko dodano vrednost, vendarle ali so vse te zaklopke enako učinkovite, se še da zmeriti, kaj pa njihove ostale komponente, koliko časa so trajne, kako so izdelane, kako bojo potem bolniki reagirali na njih. Vse to so tudi elementi, ki morajo biti pomembni pri odločanju za nabavo. Tukaj govorimo o kolčni protezi, recimo kolenski protezi. Kolenske proteze so izjemno zanimive zato, ker so dostopne že bistveno mlajšim ljudem in vemo, da njihova trajnost je zelo pomembna v smeri tega, da se življenje podaljšuje in da bolnik, ki bo dobil napačno protezo zato, ker je najcenejša ali pa ker je tisti, ki se je za njo odločil pri nabavi, ni poznal vseh njenih lastnosti, dolgoročno prikrajšan za učinke zdravljenja, ki bi jih lahko imel ob dobro izvedeni operaciji. Torej, če se pogovarjamo o slabostih in ostalih elementih, je pomembno v tem klasificiranju, standardiziranju izdelka imeti tudi informacijo o eventualnih skritih napakah. Verjetno je tukaj nekaj poslušalcev, ki se spomnijo pred leti zelo zahtevnega projekta, kako iz uporabe potegniti izdelke, torej prstne implantate, torej ženske, ki so se odločile za implantat v dojke, so bile soočene, da njihov izdelek po nekajletni uporabi predstavlja lahko riziko za njihovo zdravje. Nekateri proizvajalci so že imeli oznake svojih izdelkov in so se ti izdelki lahko hitro vrnili oziroma so jih te pacientke poklicali za ponovno operacijo oziroma za odstranitev. In nekateri pa ne. Torej je moralo priti do neljubega dogodka, da je pacientka doživela neko spremembo na tem implantatu, da je lahko potem vedela, ali je potrebno zamenjati, odstraniti ta izdelek, ali lahko varno ga uporablja oziroma nosi naprej. Tukaj bi se ozrla mogoče na nek naslov, ki ga je gospa Konda, naša današnja gostiteljica, uporabila. Lažje je identificirati pokvarjene napolitanke na policah, kot pa neprimeren medicinski pripomoček, ki je še vedno v uporabi. Žal nabavniki prepogosto uporabljajo ceno kot temeljni oziroma skoraj edini kriterij pri odločanju za nabavo. Če zaključim, bi vam želela povedati, da meni kot zdravnici je zelo, zelo pomembno, da imajo podatki, ki jih uporabljam pri svojem odločanju, res, da so kakovosti in dolgotrajno preverjene v praksi, da so vedno stabilni, primerljivi, točni in tudi seveda kompletni, da ne zajemajo samo en element in eno dimenzijo pri opisu izdelka. Seveda mi je zelo pomembno, da so globalno podprti, ker s tem praktično postane cel svet naše tržišče in tudi priložnost, kjer naše izdelke lahko spoznamo, prepoznamo in jih tudi pridobimo. Verjamem, da v današnji situaciji vse večjega povezovanja na globalni ravni, tudi na tak internetni način, je še toliko bolj pomembno, da podatke, ki so dostopni, ker izdelka seveda ali ne moremo prijeti direktno v roke, ali pa ga neposredno videti, ko ga prenese nek proizvajalec oziroma njegov predstavnik, da so te standardizacije toliko bolj natančne in kakovostne. Po drugi strani pa mi je pomembno pri uporabi, recimo danes, ko se pogovarjamo o cepivih, kako bojo označene vsaka viala, vsaka ampula zdravila oziroma cepiva, ki bo v uporabi, in da bo ta zajem avtomatski. Ker zelo dobro se še spomnim, kako je hitro prihajalo do napak pri ročnih zajemih oziroma pri uporabi, ko se nek podatek ročno prepisuje, lahko je samo ena črka ali pa samo ena besedica drugačna, oziroma ena oznakica drugačna, pa je to povsem drugi izdelek. V medicini zdaj v Sloveniji trenutno uporabljamo e-napotnico, e-recept in e-bolniški list. In za e-recept vam lahko povem, da je izjemno zmanjšal možnost napak, zato ker so podatki že standardizirani, so primerljivi in jih vsi zdravniki in vsi farmacevti in vsi uporabniki uporabljamo na enak način. Torej, in še, kar je pomembno, izdelek mora biti označen in verjamem, da je možno, tako kot so označena zdravila, označevati tudi medicinske pripomočke. In s tem, ko bodo enovito in celovito in kakovostno označeni, bojo prinašali večjo varnost za uporabnika, za vse nas, ki smo potencialni uporabniki zdravstvenih storitev, bojo omogočali avtomatski zajem, kar pomeni za izvajalce zdravstvene dejavnosti tudi manj dela, bolj natančno delo, manj možnosti za napake in priložnost, da vsi skupaj in dosežemo boljši rezultat. Dovolite, da vam ob teh prazničnih dneh čestitam z zadnjo vrtnico iz mojega vrta, torej veliko, veliko lepih doživeti med zdravimi ljudmi ob božiču in novem letu 2021. Hvala lepa za vaš čas, ki ste ga namenili temu poslušanju.
Hvala lepa za vaše lepe misli in predstavitev problematike označevanja medicinskih pripomočkov. Imam pa vprašanje malo izven teme, ali pa tudi ne. Čeprav vemo, boste januarja vodili interno okroglo mizo GS1 Slovenija s ponudniki IT rešitev v zdravstvu. Nam lahko mogoče že malo nakažete, zakaj se boste dobili in kaj želite z njo doseči?
Tukaj v bistvu sledimo inicijativi GS1 Slovenija, da vsako leto neko novo področje predstavi širši javnosti in mislim, da je odločitev povabiti IT ponudnike v zdravstvo izjemno kvalitetna odločitev z več razlogov. Slovenija, kot je malo številčna država, je dejansko majhen trg za vsakega ponudnika nekega večjega sistema, pa vendarle v Sloveniji imamo na področju informacijskih rešitev v zdravstvu celo kopico ponudnikov, ki so izdelali že veliko dobrih rešitev, medtem pa uporabniki opažamo oziroma ugotavljamo, da njihove rešitve med njimi ne komunicirajo. Seveda tekmujejo za isti trg. Priložnost te okrogle mize je ravno v tem, da jim pokažemo, da lahko njihove informacijske rešitve skozi GS1 standarde komunicirajo, torej sodelujejo in ne tekmujejo. In ta okrogla miza je priložnost za vse uporabnike, torej ponudnikov informacijskih rešitev v zdravstvu, da začnejo slišati tisti del, ki ga vi kot predstavniki GS1 že poznate, jaz kot uporabnica informacijskih rešitev pa potrebujem. Torej, da se izvidi laboratorijski pacienti, napotnice, zdravila, da se te stvari ujamejo že v informacijski rešitvi in verjamem, da je to možno in ne možno, je to priložnost tem ponudnikom predstaviti na direktnih primerih.
Odlično, odlično. Hvala lepa, dr. Kalan Živčec. Ira, imaš mogoče še ti kakšno vprašanje?
Vsekakor imam. Lepo pozdravljena, gospa doktor, še z moje strani. Jaz se bom pa kar vrnila na primarno temo, torej na temo vaše prezentacije. In sicer vprašanje je, ali se strinjate, da bi naslovno vprašanje, ali so javna naročila medicinskih pripomočkov enostavna ali res tako zahtevna opravila, zamenjala trditev, izvajanje javnih naročil v zdravstvu je visoko strokovno in profesionalno delo.
To je izjemno dobra trditev in o njej smo že nekajkrat razmišljali z vidika tako kot država, torej enovitega državnega naročila in recimo pri žilnih opornicah bi bilo to izvrstna rešitev na evropski ravni, celo globalno svetovni ravni, prav tako pri recimo kot predstavljeno srčnih zaklopkah, zato ker so to izjemno dragi medicinski pripomočki, ki jih Slovenija potrebuje v manjšem številu kot neka Nemčija in je tukaj ni konkurentnosti. Bi pa pokazala težavo, ki pa vendarle ima nabavniki v zdravstvu, ki nima tehničnih znanj. Torej, če vemo, kdo naroča, ponavadi so to neke glavne sestre oddelkov ali celo klinik, celo klinični center nima zelo specializiranih ljudi, ki bi poznali tako medicino kot tudi tehnične lastnosti izdelkov, ki jih naročajo. Smo se že, recimo pri predstavitvi za kandidaturo za direktorico kliničnega centra v Ljubljani sem predlagala, da se uvede študij na medicinski fakulteti, ki bi omogočal dodatna torej znanja, sinergija med tehniko in medicino, ker to bi bili najboljši nabavniki v zdravstvu in teh Slovenija ne potrebuje veliko, potrebuje jih pa zato, da bo kakovost njihovih odločb ponovljiva in seveda tudi ustrezna za pacienta. Verjamem, da je to zelo zahtevno delo na tehnično zahtevnih področjih, na teh manj zahtevnih seveda ni tako komplicirano, ali so v škatli 1 ali 2 rokavici. Menim pa, da je to nujni način, kako se ta razvoj lahko nadaljuje. Seveda zato potrebujemo dobre podatke in stabilne in kakovostne.
Najlepša hvala, gospa doktor. V bistvu vaše razmišljanje je izredno zanimivo in mislim, da bi veljalo o temu dejansko se še morda kdaj pogovarjati. Tako da na tem mestu se vam zahvaljujem za vaš čas danes, ker vemo, da vam ga kot zdravnici v teh časih primanjkuje. Želim vam, tudi vsem nam, da se epidemija kmalu umiri in da se bomo lahko ponovno srečali tudi v živo, ne le virtualno. Najlepša hvala še enkrat.
Hvala tudi vam za povabilo in še enkrat vse najboljše in veliko lepih doživetij med zdravimi ljudmi.
Hvala lepa. Hvala.
Drage udeleženke, spoštovani udeleženci, če vas zanima še več v zvezi z globalnimi standardi GS1 v zdravstvu, bo ob 14. uri pravi čas, da se pridružite naši strokovnjakinji z področja označevanja medicinskih pripomočkov in zdravil, Mariji Groznik Stankovič.
Sedaj pa je ponovno nastopil trenutek za naše sponzorje, brez katerih današnjega dogodka ne bi uspeli izpeljati tako kot ga. Hvala obema zlatima sponzorjema ZZI in Pantheon Group ter vsem srebrnim sponzorjem Špica, EOS KSI in Petrol. Na vrsti je predstavitev zlatega sponzorja Dneva GS1 Slovenija. To je podjetje Pantheon Group, ki spada med vodilne ponudnike e-poslovanja B2B in B2G v regiji. S lastnim omrežjem Pantheon.net, celovitimi rešitvami in storitvami podpira poslovne procese tako multinacionalk kot enoosebnih družb v trgovini, logistiki, proizvodnji, zdravstvu, javni upravi in bančništvu. Pantheon Group je član skupine Editel, aktivno sodeluje z GS1 Slovenija in posluje v skladu z ISO 27001. Pa si kar poglejmo njihovo video predstavitev. Hvala zlatemu sponzorju Pantheon Group. Mi pa si privoščimo kratek odmor, ponovno se vidimo ob 12:15. Še zadnjič danes naj vas pozdravim, drage udeleženke, cenjeni udeleženci 11. dneva GS1 Slovenija. V zadnjem sklopu osrednjega dela se bosta predstavila še dva sogovornika. Potem pa vas vabimo na druženje med vrsticami z našimi GS1 strokovnjaki. Toplo vabljeni. Danes ravnokar se nam bo pridružil še vodja tehnične ekipe GS1 Slovenija, gospod Janez Zaletel. Janez? Pozdravljen. Kaj nas čaka?
Pozdravljen.
Kaj nas čaka?
Čaka nas zanimivo druženje z našo ekipo. Samo trenutek imam eno tehnično oviro.
Počakamo, seveda.
Vsekakor, Janez.
Slišim dvojen glas, ampak zdaj bo pa dobro.
Super.
Moja naloga danes je, da vam na kratko predstavim, kaj bomo delali danes popoldne, s pričetkom ob 13:30 uri. In sicer na napovedniku smo zapisali eno takole definicijo, ki vidite zdaj na ekranu, kaj bomo z mojimi 4 kolegi iz tehnične skupine GS1 Slovenije govorili o današnjem dnevu, ki je tako ali tako v celoti posvečen podatkom in to pravim, kakovostnim in natančnim podatkom. Pa mi dovolite, da samo na hitro predstavim to na eni shemi GS1, ki je tistimi, ki ste naši uporabniki, že tudi poznana. In tukaj si pogledamo, kako nam standardi GS1 omogočajo skupen jezik za identifikacijo, zajemanje in izmenjavo podatkov in s tem zagotavljanje, da so pomembne informacije dostopne, natančne in razumljive. Identifikacija česarkoli je osnova za kakršnokoli izmenjavo podatkov v preskrbovalni verigi. Na voljo so nam identifikacijski ključi GS1, na voljo so nam tako imenovani aplikacijski identifikatorji, s katerim dodatno vpisujemo neke podatke, kot naprimer številka serije uporabna do. In tukaj smo videli tudi skozi različne predstavitve, današnje predstavitve, kako pomembni so ti dodatni podatki in da ti podatki so tudi zapisani v ustrezne oznake na izdelkih, na pakiranih, na različnih nalepkah, na različnih etiketah, in to nam v bistvu omogoča, da lahko potem izvajamo avtomatsko identifikacijo vzdolž preskrbovalne verige in to z čim manj ročnimi posegi ali pa če se le da brez ročnih posegov. Ker tako kot smo videli tudi slišali v zadnjem predavanju dr. Kalanove, vsi ročni posegi nam lahko povzročajo še dodatne težave pri kakovosti podatkov in zanesljivosti podatkov. Zdaj, ko govorimo o sami izmenjavi podatkov, se dajmo vprašati, o kakšnih podatkih pa sploh govorimo. Slišali smo že v uvodnem predavanju našega kolega iz GS1 Češke, Tomaša, da tukaj govorimo nekje o 3 sklopih, o matičnih podatkih, o transakcijskih podatkih in o podatkih o dogodkih. Matični podatki so jedro vsega skupaj, vseh podatkovnih baz, kateregakoli informacijskega sistema, kateregakoli registra po svetu. In o tem bomo govorili tudi o prispevku naše Mateje v popoldanskem prispevku med vrsticami. Transakcijski podatki, elektronska izmenjava podatka, videli smo na primeru Špara, kako je to pomembno, da so te podatki že predhodno tudi najavljeni in tudi pridejo v posamezna podjetja. Ne samo, da je ustrezna črtna koda ali pa neka ustrezna etiketa na izdelku, ampak da tudi predhodno preko elektronske izmenjave to dobimo. V podatkih o dogodkih tukaj pa nekje zaokrožujemo vse tisto, kar je vedno bolj potrebno v sledljivosti blaga. Gre za to, da dejansko sledimo vsak premik nekega izdelka, neke komponente izdelka, da imamo jasno sliko o tem, kako je to potekalo preko preskrbovalne verige in tukaj so seveda tudi na voljo določeni standardi GS1. Vsem tem bomo govorili, kot rečeno, med vrsticami danes popoldne. Začnemo z Matejo Podlogar, kjer bomo se še enkrat dotaknili pomembnost podatkovnega modela in to ne kateregakoli podatkovnega modela, ampak poenotenega globalnega modela podatkov za različne branže, za to, da dejansko vsi deležniki v preskrbovalni verigi lahko govorimo isti jezik, ko se dotaknemo podatkov. Z rokom se bomo vrnili nazaj na samo identifikacijo, na samo osnovo, kot sem že prej rekel, zato da sploh lahko steče neka izmenjava podatkov. In medtem ko Marija nam bo potem prikazala, kako z vsem tem kaj se dogaja na področju zdravstva, na področju varovanja podatkov naših kot pacientov, kaj je pomembno to kaj to pomeni za našo varnost. In na koncu zaokrožujemo z Matjažem, kjer se bomo pa dotaknili kompletne preskrbovalne verige v smislu logističnih procesov. Tako vabljeni, upam, da se udeležite tudi tega dela današnjega dogodka. Predvsem pričakujemo tudi vaše interaktivno sodelovanje in pa pogovor na teme, ki sem jih zdaj na kratko predstavil. Hvala lepa.
Janez, hvala. Poučno bo, zato še enkrat vabljeni na druženje med vrsticami. Prihodnost in umetna inteligenca, za katero so nujni kakovostni podatki. Z nami bo gospa Branka Idžan, naša naslednja gostja, podatkovna raziskovalka v mednarodnem podjetju Salviol. V podjetju se ukvarjajo z obdelavo big data, lahko pa bi rekli, da so prav podatki njihov core business. Gospa Idžan nam bo predstavila, kako dosežejo kakovost podatkov, na kateri točki se srečujejo s slabimi podatki in kako to rešujejo. Hello, Mrs. Idžan.
Hello.
Hello. You're going to explain to us how to manage big data and how to distinguish between bad and good data. So I'm just going to say it, the Zoom is yours.
Thank you. So hello everyone. My name is Branka and I will speak on behalf of the Salviol Global Analytics as data scientist. So my today's topic is big data challenges and usability. But firstly, I would like to start with the brief introduction to data scientist's job position. So when you're working with big data, you're supposed to be able to capture, analyze, systematically extract, and transform the data. So valued skills for this job, from my point of view, should be the combination of technical and leadership skills. Some of the technical skills might include knowledge of relation and non-relation database languages, such as SQL, MongoDB, and also knowledge of different types of databases. Besides this, it is also good to be familiar with some programming languages that are mostly used for statistical analysis and data analysis, such as, for example, Python or R. As knowledge of data visualization softwares, such as Tableau, for example, and also mathematical and statistical skills are valuable to help capture, measure, organize, and analyze the data, and of course to help to think logically. When it comes to the leadership skills, such as tracking the most important metrics, or diagnose the problems that may be occurring, or to predict how the different courses of actions could address a problem. These skills allow analysts to think strategically about the information that will be helpful to make business decisions and to communicate this information effectively. But when it comes to the responsibilities related to this job position, I think that they will be explained in the following slides, where I will be speaking more about usage of big data and transforming the big data into language. So in Salviol, we work with a variety of clients, from financial, banking, insurance, telecommunications sectors. So our job at the beginning of the project, but of course depending from customer to customer, but in general, our job is to perform the analysis, integration, organization, conversion or transformation, running the algorithms, and finally to perform the statistical analysis on data. But I will go briefly through each of these steps that are required to be followed. So when I say analysis, I mean mostly on identification and validation of the data. This step implies the identification of the required data in the client's databases that is needed for the project scope. It is really important to identify the data correctly. But when it comes to the validation, the problem with dirty data always accompanies the increase of data volume, but degrades the data quality. So in order to achieve the better results while transforming the data and while running the algorithms, the issues with data, like dealing with wrong, missing, duplicated, or even sometimes contradictions data, must be solved in some way. Of course, the solution depends on the nature of the issue, but some ideas that we use most common are, for example, the simplest solution is just to exclude this kind of the data from the new model. Then sometimes we match the same records and merge them, or compare the data to the single point of truth, or sometimes when it is possible, we do the validation of the data if the pattern for the creation is known. The next step is integration of the data from single or from multiple sources. This question may occur sooner or later, but in any case, it is better to try to think about this at the lower stages of the project. This question may even occur if there is only one data source, for example, in situations where a single person has two different name spelling variants within two different tables and needs to be considered as one, as the same person. After the data is analyzed and the integration is done, we can proceed with the organization of the data. This step implies creation of the new data model that will be suitable either for implementation of the algorithms or visualization or reports, or sometimes all mentioned in one. So we need to create one data model that will fit all these needs. After the model is created, the bullet for conversion of the data implies the creation of complex queries or coded logics that should collect and import the data based on the predefined set of rules to new attributes and new entities in the chosen model from the previous step. When the data cannot be, sometimes the data cannot be fully modified within the import process. So we additionally run the algorithms on the data to purify the data. But in most cases, when we need to find an alert for the predefined patterns in data or to predict the behavior, we additionally perform this step, diagnostic and descriptive analytics, by running the rules or algorithms on data. The output of those rules are usually new data sets that can be used either for investigation or as an input for statistical analysis, which represents the last step of this process. We usually perform the statistical analysis over the retrieved results from the previous set, but since the next topic is related to predictive analysis and machine learning and artificial intelligence, I will not speak about that. Just in order to round the table, I want to mention that using a purified and transformed data and combined with the results of the previously applied analytics, we can easily perform the predictive analysis and build up machine learning model to determine outcomes of any kind of actions. Okay, so the previously described process is later fully automized once the project goes live. So because of that, and while making the decision at any point of this process, you always have to be a few steps ahead and think what could happen in the future if some decision was made. And as we all know, the client's requirements are also changing sometimes during the project. So it is always better to have advanced and scalable design in order to avoid major changes as the project goes forward. Except this, let's say, comprehensiveness, even though each step of data handling is some kind of challenge, I would say that the most challenging part of being a data scientist is to identify and to validate the data, especially in situations where the database is not structured or when the data from diverse sources that usually does not follow the same format needs to be treated as same. It can also be challenging to organize the data and convert the data into valuable insights, while at the same time you are trying to improve the data usability. So at the end, to sum it up, as we all see in the past years, the data is of huge importance in today's world. And it represents one of the key components in almost all things in our everyday life. That is why it's very important for any company to dedicate experienced data scientists and data analysts in their working environment. Because the company that will know how to leverage from their data will have competitive advantage on the market, regardless of the industry. So,
Okay, thank you, Ms. Branka. I have a question for you.
okay.
How do you solve the problem with bad data? I mean, for example, in GS1 Slovenia, when we receive bad data, when we fill our register with GTINs and GLN, we usually ask the data provider to fix it if the problem ain't that complex. But I don't believe that is as simple to solve in your case, is it?
Yes, you are right. But sometimes, well, better say, often we have to deal with the bad data on our side. Of course, as I already mentioned
I have one more
or
question.
the simplest solution is to exclude this kind of data, or as you said, to require from the provider to exclude that kind of data. But sometimes we just need to solve this issue on our side, and we choose the best solution because each solution has its own pros and cons. So we need to determine which solution is the best based on the situation.
Thank you. Ana, imaš morda še kakšno vprašanje?
Imam. Mrs. Sijan, hi. I have one more question. You said it's a long process to recognize bad data, but what is the most important step recognizing it?
Okay, you mean when do we actually become aware that we are dealing with the bad
data? Exactly.
Well, I think that the most important step is initial step analysis, because only during the analysis you can identify that you have that some constraints are missing, that the database is not structured, that you have duplicates in your data. So I would say that analysis is the most important step. As I already mentioned, it's one of the most challenging steps in this process.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Nice day.
Thank you.
And all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mi pa kar nadaljujemo v slogu. V studiu tako že pozdravljamo zadnjega današnjega gosta. To je dr. Franc Bračun, strokovnjak in pomočnik uprave za upravljanje podatkov pri NLB. Zanima ga napredna analitika podatkov v luči umetne inteligence. Na nek način nas bo popeljal v svet prihodnosti. Dr. Bračun, ste že z nami, pozdravljeni.
Sem tukaj, pozdravljeni.
Pa ste res v prihodnosti. Ali pa v vesolju.
Zdaj smo vsi v prihodnosti.
Ja, to je res, to je res. Torej, kaj nas čaka, kam gremo? Vam kar predajam besedo.
Hvala. Jaz bom danes v moji predstavitvi dal predvsem poudarek na to, kakšen je pomen in vloga podatkov v svetu umetne inteligence. Umetna inteligenca danes v njej veliko poslušamo, njena uporabnost pa je zelo široka. Naprimer v bančništvu se zelo široko uporablja umetna inteligenca bodisi za povečevanje prihodkov, bodisi za zniževanje stroškov in pa tudi za upravljanje tveganj. Seveda pa je ta tehnologija uporabna in se uporablja v številnih sektorjih in industrijah. Ko govorimo danes o umetni inteligenci, je zelo pomembno, da smo natančni, kaj mislimo pod tem pojmom. In danes je umetna inteligenca predvsem temelji na principu učenja iz podatkov. In že ta definicija pove, da učenje iz podatkov, da imajo tukaj podatki zelo pomembno vlogo. Ponavadi bomo slišali v medijih, da govorimo o strojnem učenju, globokem učenju in to nekako so neke podveje umetne inteligence, ki je lahko zelo širok pojem. Zakaj je danes umetna inteligenca tako pomembna? Predvsem so trije ključni dejavniki, ki na to vplivajo. Eden je, da je napredek algoritmov umetne inteligence v zadnjem desetletju izjemno hiter in silovit. V zadnjih 10 letih so se razvili algoritmi globokega učenja, ki omogočajo na določenih segmentih takšne rezultate, ki jih pred desetletjem še sanjati nismo mogli. Drug tak pomemben dejavnik je količina podatkov. Danes je količina podatkov zelo velika, se pravi, podatki kot osnovni gonilnik ali pa osnovno gonilo umetne inteligence so na voljo, kar je zelo pomembno, da mi lahko potem te modele učimo na teh podatkih. In tretji dejavnik je pa računska moč. Tudi danes je procesorska moč, računska moč računalnikov izjemno visoka, to pa omogoča, da se lahko izvajajo izjemno zapleteni algoritmi, ki zahtevajo veliko časa in veliko računskih operacij. Vsi trije dejavniki so tako vplivali v zadnjem desetletju na umetno inteligenco, da lahko danes govorimo, da je umetna inteligenca postaja naš vsakdanjik. Na tej sliki želim poudariti oziroma prikazati, kako silovit razvoj je teh treh dejavnikov in kako to vpliva na razvoj umetne inteligence. Na spodnji osi boste videli prikaz časovni prikaz od nekje začetka leta 2018 pa do januarja 2020. Na vertikalni osi pa vidite, kolikšna je zmogljivost modelov umetne inteligence. V konkretnem primeru govorimo o modelih za jezike. Ti modeli za jezike so v zadnjih letih dosegli izjemen napredek in če samo pogledamo tukajle, še nekako v letu 2019 smo bili nekje na tem nivoju, v letu 2020, v januarju, se pa je zgodil en izjemen skok. In tle se vidi, kako hiter je ta razvoj in ta razvoj se nič ne upočasnjuje, celo pospešuje se. Kar pomeni, da bomo v naslednjih 5 letih na tem področju resnično doživeli velike premike, ki jih danes še v mislih si ne moremo zamisliti. Seveda, vse to pa brez podatkov ne gre. In zelo lep, bom rekel, izraz ali pa izrek v angleščini, ki ga je težko v slovenščino prevesti, je, da brez AI ni IA, oziroma brez IA ni AI. Kaj hočem povedati, ne? Ni umetne inteligence brez informacijske arhitekture, temelj informacijske arhitekture so pa podatki. Če mi ne zagotovimo podatkov, kakovostnih podatkov za modele, potem naši modeli ne bodo delovali tako, kot mi želimo. Ti podatki seveda morajo biti posredovani v te algoritme, ki učijo modele strojnega učenja, ki so osnova potem za rešitve umetne inteligence, morajo biti pripravljeni v takšni obliki, da jih lahko ti algoritmi obdelajo in predelajo in uporabijo za učenje. Ti podatki seveda morajo biti tudi kakovostni, ker če mi damo na vhod nekemu algoritmu podatke, ki niso kakovostni ali pa so celo pristrani ali pa napačni, bo tudi model, ki se bo na podlagi teh podatkov učil, nekvaliteten, pristran oziroma neuporaben. Zato je zelo pomembno, da ko govorimo o umetni inteligenci, da se zelo dobro zavedamo, da če nimamo dobro urejenih in pripravljenih podatkov, potem nam tudi rešitve umetne inteligence ne bodo nič pomagale. Na tej sliki je prikazano še na drugačen način, kako sploh izgleda neka hierarhija vrednosti podatkov, ki ustvarja na koncu v modelih umetne inteligence neke poslovne koristi za podjetja, ki to uporabljajo, ali pa za prebivalstvo v splošnem. Tipičen primer uporabe umetne inteligence je bil tudi reševanje oziroma spopadanje z pandemijo COVID-19. Na tem področju je umetna inteligenca veliko pripomogla tudi pri iskanju cepiv, tako da te rešitve niso uporabne samo za podjetja, ampak tudi za človeštvo na splošno. Zdaj, v zgornjih dveh teh nivojih vidite to, kar ponavadi v medijih zasledimo ali pa o čemer se danes največ govori, se pravi umetna inteligenca, globoko učenje, strojno učenje. In to je le vrh ledene gore. Vse od spodaj pa je v bistvu gre v smeri priprave podatkov za to, da lahko mi te modele sploh razvijamo oziroma naučimo na teh podatkih in jih na to uporabljamo. Vsa zgodba se začne seveda, da prvo moramo podatke zbrati iz različnih virov. Ti podatki so večinoma v tabelaričnih oblikah, vse pogosteje pa se uporabljajo tudi tako imenovani nestrukturirani podatki, ki so v obliki tekstov, filmov, slik in podobno. Te podatke seveda iz virov, ki jih zajamemo, moramo tudi na ustrezen in varen način pripeljati v neko centralno skladišče podatkov. Se pravi, moramo te podatke ustrezno pripraviti, zato da jih lahko potem nadalje uporabljamo. Seveda zelo pomembno v tem procesu je tudi čiščenje podatkov, zaznavanje odstopov in pa tudi, če pride do manjkajočih podatkov, da te podatke bodisi nadomestimo z novimi ali pa, če teh podatkov ni moč pridobiti, moramo pa pač neke druge pristope ubrati, zato ker ponavadi ti algoritmi, ki delujejo na teh podatkih, ne znajo delovati, če manjkajo podatki. Seveda potem te podatke na nek način agregiramo, v odvisnosti za kakšne namene jih uporabljamo in potem šele pridemo do teh tako imenovanih rešitev umetne inteligence, se pravi modelov, ki se učijo na podlagi podatkov in ti modeli nam potem prinašajo tiste poslovne koristi, ki jih danes uporabljamo. Danes večinoma vsi uporabniki, praktično vsi uporabniki pametnih telefonov že uporabljamo rešitve umetne inteligence, čeprav se tega ne zavedamo in da te rešitve delujejo, so potrebni vsi ti nivoji, ki so tukaj prikazani, da delujejo ustrezno, sicer te rešitve ne bi ustrezno delovale. V naši banki, od koder prihajam, smo se tega že zgodaj zavedali, da je potrebno, če želimo imeti ustrezne rešitve umetne inteligence, da moramo že zelo na začetku se vprašati, kako upravljamo z našimi podatki. Zato smo mi že pred 4 leti pristopili k celoviti prenovi našega podatkovnega okolja, ki nam bo seveda omogočala, da mi lahko na podlagi teh podatkov sedaj razvijamo napredne modele, ki se uporabljajo v takšnih ali drugačnih rešitvah umetne inteligence. Na tej sliki je prikazan schematsko, kako smo mi v naši banki to celotno piramido, ki sem jo na prejšnjem slajdu prikazal, tudi spravili v življenje. Na levi strani vidite, da mi zajemamo podatke iz različnih virov. Ti viri so tako notranji kot zunanji, se pravi viri, kjer se dogajajo, kjer se ustvarjajo podatki, ki nastajajo, ko stranke z nami poslujejo, in pa tudi viri, ki so izven banke in jih lahko zajemamo, na primer podatke iz statističnega urada ali podatke iz Bloomberga, kjer so podatki o finančnih trgih in podobno. Te podatke na to, ko jih zberemo, jih moramo ustrezno organizirati, prečistiti in shraniti v centralno skladišče podatkov, od koder se potem ti podatki uporabljajo za različne namene. Mi smo zato tudi celovito prenovili naše obstoječe podatkovno skladišče. Sam projekt je še vedno v teku, nismo še končali, ampak to je pot, ta razvoj je nenehen. Paralelno s tem smo pa tudi vzpostavili tako imenovano platformo za veliko podatkovje, se pravi Big Data platformo, ki nam služi za shranjevanje predvsem nestrukturiranih podatkov, uporabljamo jih pa tudi v različnih rešitvah, ki zahtevajo veliko računsko moč, zato ker na tej platformi imamo veliko zagotovljeno, poleg velike količine kapacitet za shranjevanje podatkov, imamo tudi velike računske zmogljivosti, ki omogočajo, da mi zelo napredne in zahtevne algoritme na tem okolju tudi potem dejansko izvajamo. Podatke iz tega našega centralnega skladišča potem za različne namene preoblikujemo v tako imenovane podatkovne tržnice, kjer so te podatkovne tržnice pa seveda se uporabljajo za posamezna vsebinska področja. Mi v banki, kot vsaka banka, imamo področja, ki se ukvarjajo tako z riskom, se pravi s tveganji, področja, ki se ukvarja z poročanjem regulatorjem, potem finančni trgi in tako naprej. In ti podatki oziroma data marti služijo kot osnova, iz katerih potem vse te rešitve črpajo podatke in na podlagi teh podatkov pripravijo bodisi različne poročila, različne dashboarde in na podlagi teh podatkov se tudi razvijajo oziroma učijo različni modeli, ki se potem uporabljajo v poslovnih procesih. Naprimer, tipičen primer v naši banki oziroma v vsaki banki je tudi tako imenovan model, ki ocenjuje, kakšna je verjetnost, da stranka odplača kredit, in seveda ta model se potem uporablja tudi v poslovnem procesu pri odobravanju kredita. Takih modelov je kar nekaj, ki jih že uporabljamo v banki in seveda v naslednjih letih bomo na tem področju še intenzivneje razvijali nove modele in tudi modele, ki bodo temeljili ne samo na notranjih podatkih, ampak tudi na zunanjih podatkih. Ti podatki so pa večinoma nestrukturirani, ponavadi predvsem v tekstovni obliki, tako da bomo v prihodnjih letih tudi na tem področju, se pravi področju, ki se ukvarja z obdelavo tekstov, poleg obdelave podatkov, ki so v tabelaričnih oblikah, veliko delali in bomo s tem še izboljšali naše rešitve umetne inteligence, ki so namenjene tako našim notranjim uporabnikom, se pravi tistim kolegom v banki, ki se ukvarjajo z različnimi vidiki upravljanja tveganj ali vidiki finančnih operacij, kakor tudi za rešitve, ki so namenjene našim strankam in jim olajšajo poslovanje z banko. Kot sem že omenil, ta razvoj smo začeli, ta razvoj je zahteven, ni enostaven, vendar mi ocenjujemo, da ta razvoj je nujen, če želimo ostati konkurenčni, kajti v naslednjih 5 letih, kot ste videli že v uvodnih slajdih, bo razvoj na tem področju izjemno hiter in mi kot banka želimo biti in bomo pripravljeni na te izzive, ki se bodo pojavili v okolju. Hvala, zdaj sem pa na voljo za vprašanja.
Hvala lepa, dr. Bračun, za vaše vpoglede in dejstva. Če vas vprašam, kje v hierarhiji vrednostnih podatkov, ki ste jo omenili, se uporabljajo standardi GS1 in če se, kakšna je njihova vloga in vpliv na učinkovitost in ekonomičnost poslovanja posamezne banke in celotne bančne verige?
Zdaj, v bistvu GS standardi so praktično zelo pomembni zato, ker s tem mi damo podatkom pomen. Podatki sami po sebi nimajo pomena, zato jih je potrebno dati v nek kontekst uporabe in te podatke je ponavadi potrebno ustrezno, kako bi se izrazil, mi rečemo temu strokovno mapirati, preslikati. Če povem poenostavljeno, zelo pomembno je, da ko mi govorimo o nekem podatku, recimo barkodi ali pa podatku, recimo prebavilišče stranke, ali pa če rečem samo stranka, kaj mi sploh razumemo pod pojmom stranka? Človek, mi ljudje smo naravnani tako, da lahko različno interpretiramo posamezno besedo, seveda tem algoritmom moramo pa zelo enoznačno povedati, kaj mi mislimo pod tem. Ker če ne bomo enoznačno definirali, kaj pomeni posamezen podatek in ustrezno to standardizirali, potem bomo zelo težko se bodo ti sistemi med sabo sporazumevali. V ta namen, naprimer, nekaj zelo podobnega, kot so standardi, smo mi v okviru tega projekta, vendar o tem nisem podrobneje govoril, tudi vzpostavili tako naš imenovani interni poslovni slovar, katerega glavni namen je, da mi enolično definiramo posamezne pojme na nivoju celotne NLB skupine, zato da, ko se pogovarjamo, da točno vemo, o čem govorimo. Naprimer, ko govorimo o terminu izpostavljenost, je lahko v bančništvu ta termin zelo različno definiran. Naprimer, kolegi iz prodaje ga nekako drugače lahko definirajo, kot pa kolegi iz tveganj. Zato je zelo pomembno, da vemo, katero definicijo uporabljamo, zato da potem tudi ustrezno uporabljamo te podatke, ker če jih ne, potem lahko pride do neljubih napak in nevšečnosti. Tako da, če me vprašate, praktično na vseh nivojih, kjer se ukvarjamo s podatki, s pripravo podatkov, so ti standardi uporabni in lahko veliko prispevajo k izboljšanju kakovosti modelov, ki so na podlagi teh podatkov izgrajeni.
Hvala, dr. Franc Bračun. Ira, imamo še kakšno vprašanje mogoče?
Seveda imamo. Pozdravljam, dr. Bračun, še z moje strani. Umetna inteligenca torej ni mogoča brez kakovostnih podatkov. Kje v razvoju pa smo ta trenutek v Sloveniji? Smo konkurenčni, če gledamo glede na svetovno digitalno elito?
Jaz mislim, da nekatera slovenska podjetja so zelo konkurenčna, nekatera pa žal malo zaostajajo in bodo morala ta zaostanek zelo hitro nadoknaditi. Kot ste videli iz moje zadnjega slajda v bistvu, sem skušal prikazati, kaj se pomeni ukvarjanje z podatki. In ukvarjanje s podatki je zelo zahtevno in se ga treba čim prej lotiti. Tako da, če me vprašate primerjavo s svetom, ja, določena podjetja, določene banke so zelo primerljive, je pa kar nekaj podjetij, ki bodo na tem področju morali še veliko narediti, predvsem začeti se ukvarjati s čistimi osnovami zbiranja, priprave in urejanja podatkov. Moje izkušnje so, da večinoma, ko se pride v neko podjetje in se začne pogovarjati o tem, da bi želeli imeti neke rešitve umetne inteligence ali pa modele strojnega učenja, se ponavadi zatakne pri podatkih. Ker prvič podjetja ne vedo, katere podatke imajo, kje jih imajo, v kakšni obliki. Vse to, če ni to urejeno in če to ni znano, potem sploh se ne moramo lotiti razvoja tovrstnih rešitev. Zato je izjemno pomembno, da se tista podjetja, ki se še niso tega lotile, da čim prej se tega lotijo.
Najlepša hvala.
Mogoče samo še en dodatek. Jaz prihajam iz bančništva. V bančništvu smo zelo regulirani in v bančništvu regulator že od nekdaj zahteva kakovostne podatke, tako da mogoče imamo tu eno prednost banke v tem smislu, da smo bili že desetletja nazaj prisiljeni urejati svoje podatke. Mislim pa, da bodo zdaj podjetja, vsa podjetja, veliko slovenskih podjetij je že tega se lotilo, veliko jih že ima urejeno, ampak vsa podjetja, če bodo želela ostati konkurenčna, se bodo mogla lotiti urejanja svojih podatkov.
Najlepša hvala za to informacijo in vaš odgovor. Imam pa še eno malce daljše vprašanje in sicer, ali se uporaba IA, ML, AI metod, torej algoritmov, izkazuje za uspešno tudi za dolgoročno in morda kratkoročno upravljanje naložb ali za odločanje za naložbe tudi na visoko volatilnih trgih, kot so delnice, obveznice, blagovni trgi, plasma posojil v določene sektorje ali tehnologije?
Ja, nekako zadnjih 5 let je na področju uporabe umetne inteligence pri trgovanju, upravljanju premoženja in tako naprej doseglo izjemen napredek. V tem delu v zadnjih 2-3 letih je izjemen napredek bil narejen na tako imenovanem področju spodbujevanega globokega učenja, reinforcement deep learning po angleško, in na tem področju v zadnjih letih so izjemno zmogljive algoritme že razvili, ki omogočajo ravno to, kar ste omenila. Je pa tako, da se je umetna inteligenca oziroma napredni algoritmi za trgovanje v finančni industriji uporabljal že tudi prej in to zelo intenzivno. Je pa to področje do neke mere tako malo skrivnostno, ker tisti, ki imajo dobre algoritme, tega ne razkrivajo in želijo to imeti recimo temu v neke vrste kot poslovna skrivnost v tajnosti, tako da včasih je zelo težko ugotoviti ali pa sploh slediti, kaj imajo tiste inštitucije, ki so na tem področju najdlje, kaj dejansko uporabljajo. Ker pač kdor ima te zmogljive algoritme, ima zelo veliko prednost na trgu in tega nihče ne želi razkrivati.
Najlepša hvala, dr. Bračun, za vašo predstavitev in za vse vaše odgovore na naše vprašanja. Želimo vam vse lepo.
Hvala vam za povabilo in nasvidenje.
Nasvidenje. Tako je. Prišli smo do konca današnjega druženja na 11. dnevu GS1 Slovenija. Dobili smo nove informacije, vpoglede v različne dimenzije podatkov, spoznali smo kakovostne podatke in zavedamo se, kako pomembni so in zakaj jih potrebujemo. Predvsem pa zdaj vemo, da nam nekakovostni podatki prav nič ne koristijo. Kako z globalnimi standardi GS1, tudi do boljših podatkov, pa več popoldan. Številka GTIN, eden najpomembnejših standardov GS1 za označevanje izdelkov, že 40 let igra pomembno vlogo v celotni preskrbovalni verigi, nepogrešljiva pa je tudi v digitalnem poslovanju, kjer nastopa v vlogi digitalnega dvojčka. O njej bo med vrsticami ob 14. podrobneje govoril strokovnjak na področju pravilne uporabe standardov GS1, naš sodelavec Roko Staničič.
Tako, smo tik pred koncem. Naj le še omenim, da bodo utrinki današnjega dne v prihodnjih dneh objavljeni tudi na spletni strani GS1 Slovenija, torej na 3x2.gs1si.org. Vabljeni k ogledu. V sporočilnem okencu pa imate v tem trenutku že na voljo kratko anketo o današnjem dogodku. Vaši odgovori nam bodo v veliko pomoč pri organizaciji vseh naslednjih dogodkov. Zdaj pa res napočil čas slovesa. Hvala vsem gostjam in gostom, ki ste naredili ta dogodek zanimiv in nas opremili z novim znanjem.
Hvala vsem vam, drage udeleženke in udeleženci na drugi strani zaslonov. Dogodek smo pripravili prav za vas, zato upamo, da ste v njem kar se da uživali in izvedeli veliko novih in uporabnih znanj.
Še enkrat hvala našim sponzorjem, ki nas podpirajo in nam stojijo ob strani.
Hvala tudi organizacijski ekipi GS1 Slovenija, ki je poskrbela za brezhiben potek dogajanja doma in po svetu na 11. dnevu GS1 Slovenija.
Hvala vsem. Naj vas še zadnjič povabim na pogovore med vrsticami strokovnjaki GS1 Slovenija, ki sledijo v nadaljevanju. Povezavo najdete na spodnjem delu zaslona. Prvi pogovor bo že o 13:30, 13:30.
Za čisti konec naj vam v najinem imenu in v imenu celotne ekipe GS1 Slovenija zaželim le še mirno, zadovoljno in uspešno leto, ki je pred nami. In upam, da se naslednje leto vidimo v živo. Čeprav, Ana, midve smo se imeli lepo tudi tako, kaj ne?
Res je, res je. Minilo je kot bi trenil, ogromno novega smo izvedeli, zdaj pa smo pripravljeni na nove zmage. Lepo se imejte, čudovit vikend in preostanek decembra. Se vidimo naslednje leto in ostanimo zdravi. Adijo!
Adijo!